Anyone that's anybody on Twitter got hacked, Model Y is now available to lease, and Travis County gives Tesla a break. This is Tesla Tidbits episode number 610, recorded for July 20th, 2020. This show is sponsored by my supporter Richard. If you're in the market for a new Tesla, please consider using his referral code. Ask your salesperson to use code Richard174 or go direct to the web link ts.la/Richard174 and pick up a 1,000-mile supercharging credit for your new vehicle. We start with easily the story of last week, even outside of the Tesla world. It just so happens that Tesla got caught up in it. Last week, the Twitterpocalypse occurred, with many high-profile accounts, including Elon, being hacked and used to perpetuate a Bitcoin scam. The scam purported to double the Bitcoin you sent to the provided address, but of course, only after you sent something to that address. It's reported that the scammers have made just under $200,000 US to this point from their nefarious behavior. It's believed that a Twitter employee or employees were compromised, granting access to internal tools that permitted the hack, and that it wasn't necessarily an issue with these accounts failing to properly secure their accounts. For the other side of things, the folks that were hacked had their accounts frozen while Twitter investigated the incident. As a result, we didn't get to see any of Elon on Twitter for a few days. But he came back, tongue planted fully in cheek, replying, quote, "Just stop," end quote, to the now deleted tweets that the scammers sent. He followed this up, responding to a guy asking where his Bitcoin is, with a, quote, "Excuse me, I only sell Doge," end quote. For those unaware, Dogecoin is a cryptocurrency that was developed mostly as a joke to make fun of all the cryptocurrencies that were coming out at the time. Its mascot is the adorable Shiba Inu breed of dog. It's very much up Elon's alley. Finally, he tweeted out a meme saying, quote, "It's inevitable," end quote, with a picture of a Shiba Inu storm captioned with Dogecoin standard, ready to overwhelm a neighborhood captioned with global financial system. So despite the drama, Elon still has his sense of humor intact. We seem to be back to good for Elon tweeting, and that's just in the nick of time for earnings to come up this week. The next biggest thing coming out for this week is a story from Clean Technica that Model Y now has leasing available. It took much longer for Model 3 to get added to Tesla's leasing program, but of course, Model 3 took much longer to get production up and running to a point that they could not only fulfill purchase orders, but these new leases. As we well know, while they're not up to full production ramp, they're doing far better at this point in the Model Y's life than Model 3 was. While Model 3's starting lease price is about $371 US a month, Model Y kicks off at a slightly more inflated $499 US a month. So if Model Y is your cup of tea and a lease is your best fit for getting into the driver's seat, this is now an option for you. Lastly for this show, we look again into the news around the latest Tesla Gigafactory build site coming from Tasmanian. While I last reported on Tulsa's latest overtures to convince Tesla to build there, it looks as though one of the big lures from Texas has just come through. Travis County, where the factory would be located, granted Tesla a 20-year plan for incentives to locate there. Tesla will see no benefit until it has invested at least $1.1 billion in the county, at which point they'll receive a 70% rebate on their maintenance and operations property taxes. They'll get 75% after the next billion, and finally an 80% rebate following that. These are in addition to the school tax rebates the company recently procured separately from this issue. According to the article, Tesla stands to reap a $50 million savings in taxes over 10 years. This plan hopefully will stave off critics of the cuts by requiring the company to complete investments first before receiving benefits. We'll see whether this is enough to tip the scale or not soon, as many are expecting that we might hear something on the earnings call this week. Speaking of that earnings call, it is set for Wednesday the 22nd at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 2:30 p.m. Pacific. So, for show housekeeping, because of this, expect only 2 shows this week. Today's show, and then you'll have the earnings call show release as soon as I can edit everything together following the call on Wednesday. I'm looking forward to our quarterly Christmas, as I think we're going to hear a lot of news. That'll do it for today's show. Thanks to all my patrons supporting the show at patreon.com/Tesla Tidbits, including my newest patron, Jim Schillinger. As always, a special shout out also to all the super patrons supporting the show at the $10 plus level. They are Ryan Scarborough, Lee Sweet, William Henry Crew III, Dorian Steve Guberman, Ralph and Cheryl Waterhouse, Todd Sullivan, Mitch Long, Zortek LED Canada, Morven Ogg, Raymond and Deborah Malkowitz, T Sportline, Vicky Kirk, Ricky Johnston, Nathan Garza, Ed Patterman, Sunil Joseph, Joy Rodriguez, and Brad Lettner. If you have feedback for me, the best way to be heard is to tweet at Tesla Tidbits and use the hashtag AskTeslaTidbits if you'd like your question to be considered for the show. Until next time, keep it charged and hit the road.